Hey, Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, doing wonderful. I think my voice is coming back today. We've got a little off day today, so it's nice to be able to not be out yelling and screaming.
I wanted to ask you about Deshaun McCall. Obviously, really highly regarded guy, high-rated prospect. Brought in to play stinger linebacker, but also playing a little bit of bull. I guess what excites you about him? Obviously, you see the length and the athleticism, but what excites you about what he can do for you guys this year and in the future?
Yeah, he certainly is a talented young man, and he's got a guy that we have high hopes for this year and in the future. Like you said, he's really just shown one willingness to work. I mean, he will embrace whatever role we give him. He just wants to play, wants to contribute, wants to help this football team, and he's going to do that. And we're working to find ways to get him on the field, be able to put him in the best situations to use his skills and his talents without overloading him. He is still the true freshman, and sometimes those guys can get overwhelmed if you ask too much of them. So right now we're just trying to find those roles, those moments, the packages that fit him best and can allow him to play fast and do what he does. And because he has disruptive ability, that's for sure. So, that's where we are right now with him, but we're excited about what he's doing. Like I said, he's got just a great attitude about it, understands, what that role is kind of becoming for him right now. And, excited about, what he's going to be able to do to help us on the field this fall.
Mike Dustin.
Yeah, hey, Coach. Coach Allen has, during his time here, has always emphasized rotations on defense during games just to really get into the depth in the lineup. I'm curious your impressions being here for a short time now. Like, what position groups really stand out to you that you're comfortable that you have that kind of depth, and which ones are you still looking for?
Yes and yes, every one of them. We're challenging our guys right now to continue to take. I grew up. You guys again know me a little bit. Working for my dad. Or growing up with my dad and playing for my dad, he talked about pride, right? Pride was personal responsibility in your daily effort, energy, and execution. And that's what we're challenging each guy for right now as you look at the depth of taking that personal responsibility that you can be trusted, right? And trust comes from proof consistently over time. And so we're asking each guy, right? What are you proving? What are you putting on film? How are you doing that to go execute, right? With that edge, with that energy, with that, ownership that we're looking for. Right now, overall, though, as you look at it, they certainly see each position group growing. We have that depth as they're starting to just. We're at that point in camp, but we're looking for execution, right? Most of the installs are done, right? We're not throwing a bunch of stuff on them every day. So now it's time to really go executing, right? And being brilliant go be brilliant at the basics of your position. Starting up front, you see that group of D linemen start really growing and developing. That's, we've been able to bring some guys in and add some depth in there. When you look at some of the guys that came in as transfers with J.H. Tevis and P.J. Lucas and Ladarius Cox, right? Coming in there, right? Bringing Miles Jackson in at that bowl position to provide depth for Lance. Lance is playing at a phenomenal level right now. Probably, and I haven't been here, but listen to the guys in the room talk at the highest level that he's played at. But part of that might be because Miles Jackson is here. And Miles Jackson is pushing Lance. And it's not competing against, it's competing with each other. But that's where we become really good. And seeing that grow, right? Seeing our linebacker core grow. With Bradley Jennings and adding Jared Casey. And Jared Casey's doing a great job growing and developing from where he was in the spring. But it's pushed Aaron Casey and it's pushed Cam Jones to become a better player, having those guys around them. And then you look at the back end, we're talented there at the back end with Jalen Williams and Taiwan and, Monster and, those guys. But, seeing Brian Fitzgerald continue to grow, right? Bryson Bond's coming on, Josh Sanguinetti, right? We're getting in a position now, right, where we can just throw people at them and overwhelm people with our depth. I have pointed out, last season to some of the guys as we talk about those depth to try to show them proof of that. A young man had last year at Minnesota, Boye Mafe. I mean, Boye was drafted 40th overall. In the last 3 games of the year we had at Minnesota, he and his backup split reps each game being one off in the reps. If one of them played 45, the other one played 44 reps. I had one game where it was 30 and 30, dead even, right? Another game, I think it was like 38 and 37 reps, whatever those exact numbers were. And Boye was drafted 40th overall. Yeah, so But that's part of the reason Boye could perform at such a high level is he didn't have to keep the governor on, and he could just go play, throw him in there 4 to 6 plays. Right, next guy's in, 4 6 plays, go play with your hair on fire, run around like a madman, and hey, tag team that thing out WWE style. Next guy goes, and really see that happening with our guys right now of them competing with each other, but knowing it's going to allow each of them to go play at a higher level when their number's called on Saturdays.
We're going to Dustin and Zach.
Hey, Dustin, good to see you, bud.
Chad, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate it.
Excellent. Good to hear. I'm going to sneak in 2 right here. One, what's impressed you about James Head? Tom Allen's talked a lot about how he's impressed you about him. And obviously, we've asked a lot of guys questions about getting the turnover rate high.
Takeaways.
And obviously, you weren't there before, but what's better in terms of what you've seen in camp so far?
Sure. We talk on defense about takeaways, right? Because we're going to be proactive in that. The offense might turn it over, but we take it away, right? We're not waiting on them to do it. Just talking about James, though. James is really another guy that you see growing and developing. He's healthy. He's strong. Being a veteran guy, he has great understanding, awareness of our scheme, our system, and he's really, credit to Coach Randolph, really growing in confidence. You see him doing some things right now that I think he hadn't done in the past. Whether that's how he's just taking on run blocks and sitting in an anchor and being strong and sturdy, to his pass rush, and you see some athleticism, you see some series of efforts, second move, third move, counter moves that maybe weren't there in the past, and so we're excited to see him continue to just keep challenging that growth, keep pushing. And I think some of the things we're doing, simplifying things a little bit, right? Complexity is the enemy of execution, where simplicity is the ally of execution. So you see some things coming up for guys that things are a little bit simpler for them. Sometimes that's just veteran guys that the complexity is still there, but they just understand it better. They know it better. And so they're able to go play faster, right? You hear that phrase all the time, right? The game slows down. Nobody's playing any slower. Right? Nobody, right? That offensive tackle isn't any slower. That quarterback isn't any slower. Nobody's slower, but you understand it. The complexity isn't there for you. It's more simple. So now you can go execute, react, play at a faster level. So I think that's kind of where James is right now as well. Some things it's some scheme stuff, but I think some things it's just, hey, he's a veteran guy, been around here a bunch. He's healthy, he's strong, he's playing fast. Coach Wellman has done a phenomenal job with him and his body and in the weight room, his conditioning, and really excited about where he is, where his growth, his production, but his mentality, his mindset. He's really looking forward to seeing James play this fall. Second, with the takeaways part, just getting the guys to embrace and own that DNA. Coach Allen talks about all the time, right? Our DNA is takeaways, tackling, effort. Takeaways, tackling, effort, right? You probably heard that from him a bunch, in the years that he's been here, and that hadn't changed. But the ownership part of it, for those guys to say, this is our DNA. It's not Coach Allen's DNA. It's not Chad Wilt's DNA for the offense. This is our defensive DNA. And it begins with that takeaway, those takeaways. So those guys to say, hey, this is what matters for us and how we're going to play the game. For us to play at the highest level, we have to own that. Ownership. I read a book, working on a book right now by Jocko Willink, right? That extreme ownership, right? And everybody taking accountability and responsible for it. If it doesn't go right, if it's not right, hey, it's on me. I take that ownership of it. And, I really think our guys are working that way towards that part of it. This is our DNA. I own this. This isn't just something that's being preached at us and we have to, this is the way it is here. Like, no, this is it. This is us. This is how we're going to be. We are going to be great at taking the ball away. We're going to be great at tackling, and we're going to play with a phenomenal and fanatic effort. And, the guys are working towards that. And they got, we got to be more consistent. Talk about trust earlier and talk about the depth part of it, right? How do you build trust? Proof consistently over time. What is proof? Proof is your actions. Consistency, right? Every day, right? For as many days as it takes, the time part, as many days as it takes to keep proving consistently over time that, hey, we can go trust you to play with your hair on fire running around out there.
We'll go Zach and Tyler.
Coach, I guess following up, you mentioned the defensive backfield earlier. That's obviously a really experienced group, and it's a group that I think had to really kind of ride out a lot of injuries last year, but it seems like a lot of those guys are healthy now. They've played different positions. They've kind of all moved around through their careers. I guess how much of I don't know if you call it a security blanket or what, but just how helpful is it to have a position group like that where I know you're looking for depth and more guys to step up, but you've got a lot of guys there that have played a lot of football together and seem comfortable really kind of speaking up, being leaders.
Yeah, certainly, it's certainly accurate. Right? There is that security blanket, as you said. Hey, those last guys? What do they call them? Safeties. Right? What are they? It's your safety net. It's your fail safe to make sure, right, if anything breaks down, like they can go clean the thing up. That's not by accident. We call that position in football. Those guys are the safety net. You include those corners out there, corners, right? Hey, they're the edge, they're the corner, right? That's the cornerstone, right, of what we do, especially in the secondary. There is great security in that. There's great security in that. Now, those guys got to continue to grow. They got to continue to develop. Everybody's responsible. We talked about that, right? That pride, right? Personal responsibility in daily effort, execution, energy, what you bring to the table, and they're each in that role right now. But you see a very intentional mindset, right? Difference in intentions and intentional. Intentions is just what you say you want to do, right? Intentional is the actions you actually put behind it. And those guys are being very intentional in their process about how they're going about building who they are individually and right what they should be as a position group. And but there's a lot of great work being done by all of those guys. And as I mentioned earlier, right, the guys behind them, the Josh Sanguinettis and the John Hayneses and Bryson Bonses, right, and Lim Watley Neely, right, Brilo Lanier, right. There's a lot of guys out there that are busting their tail and doing a great job giving us those depth. We don't want any one of them to play all 75 snaps of a football game. That's not what we want. We want those guys to be able to, hey, let's, you might play 60% of the plays, but 40% of the plays, right, you're getting rotated and rolled out. So you can, one, see the game from the sidelines. Sometimes it does help things slow down, as we talked about earlier, right? But then also just play fresh, play fast, play physical. But there's a great group of guys back there leading the way. Like I said, Taiwan Mullen and Jay Will and Monster, played a lot of football. Great to have them here. And certainly, like you said, gives you a little bit of security blanket knowing that, they allow us to do a lot, up front because they can handle a lot there on the back end.
We'll go to Tyler and then Rick.
Hey, Coach. Hope you're doing well. I wanted to ask about Cam Jones. Just what is your favorite part about coaching him?
What's not my favorite part about coaching him? You talk about a young man, mature beyond his years. So I'll give you a little story on Cam. So right before we started preseason camp, it was a Sunday. We were going to have all the linebackers over to dinner one night, just have them over to the house, be able to spend some time with them around our kids. And my wife and I are in the kitchen after church and starting to get dinner ready. My wife's a great cook. She's awesome. She was doing enchiladas. And, she's getting all that stuff ready. And she gets a phone call from her dad that her uncle had passed away. And, so obviously we have to call all the linebackers and, hey, guys, we had to cancel dinner. My wife's running up to Indy to be with her family, obviously in this, horrible moment. And, the next day, Cam texts my wife, hey, just want to let you know we're thinking about you. We love you. We're praying for you, here for you. 22-year-old kid reaches out to his coach's wife to say, we care about you. About a week ago, another story, right? My wife brings our kids over to practice and they're playing and, Cam's out there. We had Cam's over at our house for Easter supper, back in the spring. And, he's been at the house and he's been around. He knows my kids, and my kids were excited. They get to see Cam. Coming to practice. They love Cam and they love all the guys, but Cam and Taiwan have done a phenomenal job of just taking our kids under the wing and loving them. So one of the photographers took some pictures of Cam playing with my kids. And Cam, they sent the pictures to Cam and he was going to post them on Instagram. But Cam, before he posted, texted my wife and I and said, hey, I love these pictures. I love you guys. Love your family. I just want to check to make sure you're okay with me putting these pictures of your kids on Instagram because, he knows that sometimes people don't want adolescents out on social media. But 22-year-old kid thinks like that. You know, like it's just, but then you look in our meeting room, like, I mean, he's the bell cow. His effort, his energy, he's smart. He's got football IQ and savvy. He's the first one to speak up. I mean, like I said, what's not to love about that kid? So I don't know if I'm answering your question, Tyler, but maybe I am. I don't know. Tell me if you want more.
No, that's good. I appreciate it.
He's what we want our daughters to date. He's what we want our sons to be, and he's what we want our football players to be. He's tough, he's gritty, he's smart, he plays his tail off, and he leads in all the right ways.
And we'll wrap things up with Rick.
Yeah, hi, Chad. Rick Bozich down in Louisville at WDRB. Jared Casey's up there, who's from Howard High School here in Louisville. Played quite a bit of Kentucky 2 years ago, and then he's transferred up to Indiana. What can you tell me about his progress? Where do you see him fitting in this year and contributing?
Yeah, he is right there on Cam's heels, playing that same stinger position. But we've been very upfront and honest with all of our players. We expect you guys to rotate. No one guy is going to play all 70 plays. Just, hey, this is the way it's going to be. Jared has done a phenomenal job of coming in, especially this fall, of just embracing the process of growth and development. It's not easy transferring in. You're different. You're the outsider a little bit. And not that he was in a bad place and was the outsider in the spring, but there's always that growth process of, okay, becoming part of the locker room and making that transition. And but it really have seen Jared's confidence grow this fall camp. Shockingly, his confidence has grown. What has happened to his production and performance? It's improved and gotten better. Again, not that he was playing at a low level back in the spring, but it's just you've seen him really take the next step. I think of a play just yesterday in scrimmage, and he's involved in a blitz pattern, whatever, and there's a motion that checks it. He's the one that made the check for the entire defense, right? He was the first one that got it out of his mouth. And not that he didn't understand that maybe that same call and check in the spring, but he didn't have the confidence to step up and say, this is on me as linebackers. We're talking about linebackers this camp, talking about their three jobs are leadership, command, production. Right? You got to lead the defense. You got to step up and do it with command, right? And volume reflects confidence. Command it, demand it. And in that moment, Jared, you saw leadership and you saw command of the group as a defense, but command of the defense, meaning the scheme, the adjustment that we needed to be in. And just was really proud of Jared, and we've seen that several times from him so far this preseason camp. So, like I said, just really seeing him grow as a player, but he's really grown as a player because his confidence here in the locker room but then also on the field and the comfort level of where he is. So really excited to keep pushing him, challenging him, keep growing, keep that edge about him and what he is and who he is, and just that preparation, right? Have to be there before I am there, right? Have to be there before I am there, and you see Jared really in that preparation process, really growing and developing the right habits. Yep. Thanks, guys. Good to see you guys. Look forward to seeing you here soon in person.